You know, after lunch is always tough, right? And it's just, our bellies are full. You know, it's the afternoon. We've been sitting here all morning. I said, so let's just keep it generic. Let's just keep it simple. Let's just keep it straightforward. And then let's try to interact some. So I hope we can do that. I've got the answers up here, and I'm going to tell you the problems, as if you were answering questions, right? The struggles. These are not answers. They're struggles. They're answers for me because this is what I was looking for. And what I can tell you is that while I'm convinced some of you older guys have got some terrible handwriting, I can read them all, number one. That's good. But then, number two, I think I'm looking at a lot of younger guys' answers. I may be wrong about that, but I don't think I'm looking at a lot of older men is what I'm trying to say. And so I think that I think we've got some good things to discuss, and I want to get to that fairly quickly and kind of end the day on that. But go back to Proverbs chapter 4 with me for just a moment, and let's finish this passage. We started this passage in chapter 4 and verse 21 with this idea of the heart, and what a powerful and what an important part of it is to get it right on the inside, to get it right in the mind and the heart, the way we think, the way we process, the way we prioritize the decisions that we make. And I'm going to tell you, from looking in the trash can, there's a lot of similarities. There is a lot of things I expected, and there may be one or two that kind of caught me off guard. So what I'm saying is that this group is not any different from any other group. We all have struggles. Some are different, some are similar, and the reality of it is that if I gave you 5 pieces of paper, some of us could list 5. Maybe we pick, some pieces of paper have a couple of answers on the same piece of paper. And so as we think about how to train ourselves internally, and then what that begins to look like externally with the tongue in verse 24. But then verse 25, look at your eyes. Pay attention to your eyes. Be careful with where you send your eyes. I don't know if y'all see them a lot over this way, but in Lawrenceburg we have a lot of Amish. And we see them all the time in town. And what's interesting is that if you drive up north of Lawrenceburg and out around there, you know, there's all these horses and mules, and they're all out there, and they're just, excuse me, they're just running around free and enjoying the pasture and just having a good time, you know, whatever horses do on their downtime. But when you see them in Lawrenceburg, they're strapped to a chariot, they're strapped to a cart, they're strapped to some type of cage to haul an animal down to the sale, and without exception, they have blinders. You see, you turn them loose in the pasture, and they know where the fence is, and they just roam freely. But when you strap them to some type of cart to go to town, you put blinders on them. There's going to be cars going by. There's going to be people all around. But we're on a mission. In other words, if you could buy a one-horse car, anytime you get in that one-horse car, you need to be going where you're going, okay? The horsepower in your car is probably several hundred horses. So you can kind of roam around, and you can kind of loafer about, and oops, I made a wrong turn, you know, I'll just go down here and turn around, no big deal. When you're in a one-horse vehicle, you need that one horse to go where it's supposed to go. You don't need to take a wrong turn. You don't need to get distracted. What I want you to see in verse 25 is, when it comes to the eyes, I want you to be looking directly forward, gazing straight before you so that you don't get distracted. Now, we're talking about life. What does purity look like in life? It's about being focused. It's about being on the task at hand. Because far too often when people get messed up is when they start loafering. When they start taking the wrong turn. When they start, it won't hurt anything. You know, I'll just go down here, turn around, and I'll come back later, That's when we get in trouble. Very, very seldom do people get in trouble when they're like that horse with those blinders on and they've got a mission, they know where they need to be, and they're going in that direction. It's when we start allowing ourselves, notice what verse 27 says, to swerve to the left or to the right. Now let me just ask you a question. Let's say driving home this afternoon in just a minute. Let's say the driver of your vehicle, and it might be you, let's say they ask a question. Do you want me to turn left or turn right? What are you going to pick? I'm talking about just going down the road. Driving 55 miles an hour down the road, and the driver looks back and says, all right, guys, I'm going to turn left or I'm going to turn right. What's your pick? What's wrong with right or left? There's a ditch on both sides of the road, isn't there? See, neither one of them is a good option. There's a ditch on both sides of the road. We want to keep going straight. That's the direction. Don't swerve to the right or to the left or allow your feet to be turned away to evil. So when we think about life, in verse 24 he mentions specifically the tongue, and we addressed that right before lunch. We think about life, we start thinking about things like the eyes and the feet. To come back into verse 26 and just say, listen, ponder the path of your life. Ponder the path of your feet. Think about where you're heading so that all your ways might be established, sure, confirmed. In other words, don't be just lollygagging around out here in life, or else Satan is going to knock your feet out from in under you. If your eyes are just, bebopping around and whatever, and, well, that looks pretty cool, that looks pretty cool, before you know it, she looks pretty cool, and she looks pretty cool, and you see this you ain't supposed to see, and you see that you ain't supposed to see. Life gets distracted by things that don't need to be in it because we're not focusing on what does need to be there. I love my eyesight. You understand? I don't ever want to be blind. But I'm not sure that I couldn't live a lot closer to God if I were blind. I don't know. Blind people struggle with things just like we people who can see do. I'm confident of that. They're still human flesh. They have other struggles, but it's not sight, right? And one of ours tends to be that, is that we get our eyes, and let me tell you something, wherever your eyes go, your feet will follow. Have you ever tried to walk one direction and look another direction? How good does that? That's where you end up with broken noses. You understand? When you're looking this way and walking that way, that's when you run into poles like that one right over there. And you break a nose or a leg or something. You see, when most of our lives is spent looking where we're walking, that's when it's all connected together. I'm looking and I'm walking. I know where I'm going. If our eyes get carried off somewhere, then our feet get carried off with it. You see the danger? It's called life. So what are we going to do with life? Well, the good thing is that life only has 4 letters. So now you're thinking we're getting out early. I like this. So when it comes to the ale, here's what I want to know. Are we looking for ways to serve God? Are we looking? Are we looking for ways to serve others? Are we looking for ways to do what God wants? Is our eyes focused on, this is what God wants me to do? This is how I can serve. This is how I can do something good for someone else. This is not about me. All of life is not about me. It's about others, and how can I help a friend, and how can I do what God wants me to do? You see, one man said that a person who is happy is a person who can be happy on their saddest of days. Happiness is not measured by how happy you are on your happy days, but happiness is measured by how happy you are on your sad. So what's gonna make me happy? Could I suggest to you serving other people? Oh man, we don't think like that. That's not humanity. That's not normal, consistent guy thoughts. And that's exactly right. It's not. It's godly thoughts. It's Christian thoughts. Because we tend to be, our eyes tend to be focused on right here. Right here is number one. I'm going to take care of him. I'm going to do what he wants. I'm going to do what's best for him. I'm going to please him. If I want it, I can have it. I live in America. Don't tell me I can't. And if I think it'll make me be happy, then, man, that's even more power to it. And happiness is measured on me getting what I want as opposed to me serving others. I love the passage in John 13, and we won't take the time, but you remember when Jesus got the disciples, the apostles, up into the upper room, and he took a towel and wrapped it around his waist, and he bent down into the basin, and he washed their feet one by one, and then he said, if I am your Lord and do that, you go do likewise. If I will stoop down and serve you, then you go serve others. Are we looking for what? You see, that's what life's all about. No, life's all about what I want, and life's all about what's best for me. No. The American society has tainted our hearts. Life is all about what does God want? What can I do to bless God? What can I do to, am I looking? I got to be looking because I'm going to tell you that if you're not looking for them, your feet's not going to follow. You got to be looking. When I think about the I and the word life, I think about involvement. Now what I mean by involvement is, I mean getting involved in the church. I realize that some of you here today, you may be friends of somebody who goes to church, and you may not even go to church. We need to back up a step, and we need to talk to you about what it means to be a part of God's family and to be in church, and the importance of going to church and all those things. But and by all means, there's many guys here who'd love to talk to you about those things. But there are a lot of you in here that go to church all the time. And here you are on Saturday at a purity day for young men. And so I'm convinced I'm looking at some pretty good guys. But here's what happens a lot of times is we don't want to get involved. You see, involvement causes vulnerability. You see, if I get involved, then that means I'm going to be just quite honest with you. When I come to this garbage can after lunch, I was shocked at how many pieces of paper was in there. I really was. I was thinking 4, 5, maybe 6, 8. Part of it was the fun of trying to shoot it and make it in the basket, right? I should have put a backboard up on my garbage can here. But the reality of it is that you made yourself vulnerable, because now I know something about you. I don't know who you are, but I know somebody in this room is struggling with this particular thing. And so that's what involvement does. I'm going to get involved. And by getting involved, I'm taking a risk that he might know who I am. I'm being vulnerable because I'm admitting that I've got a problem. When it comes to getting involved in the church, it works the same way. People get their feelings hurt when they get involved. People don't get to do what they wanted to do when they get involved. They're stuck doing something else. I really wanted to be in this class, but instead I'm stuck in this class because this is where I was needed. Or things, when you decide to get, here's what I know. Statistics tell us that 75% of young people will leave the church at some point in their lives. Now, some of those come back later, but 3 out of 4 leave the church at some point in their lives, and a high majority is during the college years. And here's what I also know. And I have no ties to Lads to Leaders. I'm not making any commission off of this plug. But here's what I know. I know that Lads to Leaders has done research, and they claim in their statistics that 80% of young people who are involved in Lads to Leaders remain faithful into their adult years. There's a correlation there for me, and it's involvement. Because you can't be in Lads to Leaders and not be involved as a young person. It's just what it is. It's involvement. It's group involvement. It's individual involvement. It's all kinds of involvements. And so what I'm saying is that it appears to me that when we get young people involved, then there's a high percentage that remains faithful. And I think that's what we're after in the Lord's church, is trying to get young people from boys to men, but trying to get young Christians to adult Christians. And I think a huge area, you need to decide, I'm going to put my eyes so that my feet will follow in being involved. Oh, I'm too young. I'm too young. I can't do anything. Do you really realize how old Joseph was when he went down to Egypt and he saved a nation? He saved a nation of people. His daddy and his brothers would have died of starvation. Just a young boy, just a teenage boy sent off down there. Supposedly left for dead, sold into slavery. God saved a nation thanks to that young man. Think about shepherd boy David when he went onto that field with that 9-foot giant. Think about what he said. You come out here, whatever you want to come out here with. I come out here in the name of the Lord. As long as God is on our side, I just abuse Romans 8:31 all I can. As long as God's on my side, you don't stand a chance. That's what that verse says to me. God is for us, who can be against us? God's on my side. It doesn't matter how old you are. Doesn't matter how big you are. Doesn't matter how talented you are. Doesn't matter what you think you can't do. I'm telling you, you can. You've just got to decide that I'm going to spend my life being involved in serving others and helping the church. The F, well, the F's about finding the right people. You call them friends. You call them mentors, people that are older in age. They might be parents. They might be grandparents. They might be aunts and uncles. They might be a deacon in the church you go to. Might be an elder. Might be a preacher. Might be a person who's a year ahead of you in school. Might be someone who's your age. Friends, mentors. But find the right people. Because here's what I know. The wrong people will take you right there. The wrong people will take you to the wrong places. So find the right people. 1 Corinthians 15 and verse 33, and all else that Paul's addressing in 1 Corinthians 15, he says right in the middle of that, do not be deceived. Evil companions will corrupt good morals. You've got to find the right people. If you're going to keep your eyes in the right place, your feet in the right direction, you've got to find the right people. And then finally, the E. The E. You need to see every day as an opportunity. You got up this morning for a reason. God woke you for a reason. You got a purpose today. Maybe your purpose was to come here. Maybe your purpose was to be sitting right where you're sitting so that you can hear something that you needed to hear for your heart, for your tongue, for your eyes and feet. But you got up this morning with a purpose. If God didn't have a purpose for you, He wouldn't have woke you up. Every day. Every day. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it, Psalm 118 and verse 24. Every day. As you have opportunity, do good unto all, Galatians 6 and verse 10. Every day is an opportunity. James says to him who knows to do good and don't do it, it's sin. James 4 and verse 17. Every day. Don't waste a day. You see, when it comes to life, it kind of boils down to it like this for me, and I'm going to kind of close this section and branch over in to more of a question and answer and giving you some results. When I think about life, and I think about the importance of being pure in life, Proverbs 4, 25, 26, Keep your eyes on the right path. Ponder the way of your feet. Ponder your life. Sit down and think to yourself, now where have I been and where am I going and what difference does this all make? And then begin to ask some questions like this. If I'm going to be pure in life, what does the Bible say? When's the last time you sat down, and that word ponder means to meditate, to mull over, to think about, to reason through? So we're going to reason through life, okay? What does the Bible say? Do you care? Do I care what the Bible says? Yogi, not Yogi Bear, but Yogi Berra, the famous baseball player, he said, when you come to a fork in the road, take it. Now what? Huh? What you going to do? He says when you come to a fork in the road, when the road splits, take it. How are you going to figure it out? Well, you're going to have to ask yourself some questions. What's the Bible say? What's God want? What's God say about that? Maybe it could be the case that God doesn't speak directly to that. Maybe He does in principle, or maybe He does implicitly. What does the Bible say? Do we hold this book where it's supposed to be held? Is it important enough to us to find out if we don't know what it says? What it says. What's the world think? That'd be the second question I'd ask myself. What's the world think? Well, what do I care what the world thinks? What does the world think? When you come to a fork in the road, take it and ask yourself, what does the world think? I go this way, I go this way. What does the world think? Third question. What results will there be? If I go this way, what's going to be the end result? If I go this way, what's going to be the end result? You come to a fork in the road, take it. How am I going to decide as I ponder my decisions? Here's my heart. It's working. How do I train it to work? Maybe, do you realize the devastation you could save in your life if you stopped and meditated on those three questions? What does the Bible say? Which way should I go here? Huh? What does the Bible say? What does the Bible tell me? Which way does the Bible tell me to go? What does the world think? What if I do this? You know, the Bible doesn't, God doesn't say it's wrong, okay? So I go either way. God doesn't say it's wrong. Either way is a righteous option. Now the next one, what does the world think? Because there are some things that the world thinks negatively about that are not wrong in and of themselves. So I need to analyze, okay, if I go this way, what are they going to think? If I go that way, what are they going to think? And then the third question is, where am I headed? Because each road has a destination. So where's this headed? You see, it might be that the Bible doesn't say anything, or if the Bible does say it's okay to go either direction. Okay, that didn't help you much. You might look at it and say, well, you know, the world doesn't. The world looks at this positively, the world looks at this. Okay, so now what you going to do? That question didn't really help you any. You can still take the fork. So then you come to the third question. Now where am I headed? Where do I want to go? Where do I want to be? I want you thinking about that as we go through this garbage can. You know why I brought the garbage can this morning? We got about 15 minutes. I brought the garbage can this morning because here's what I know. I are one of you. You understand? So here's what I know. I know on average we speak about 7,000 words a day. Some of you think that I've spoken 7,000 since lunch. I probably have. I'm not the average male, okay? The average female speaks anywhere from 15 to 18,000 words a day. Any way you look at that, that's double, okay? Guys don't talk much. You understand? That's why I brought the garbage can. Guys don't talk much. Let's get guys to write down something, throw it in the garbage can. You see what this guy wrote? About what all guys say. There ain't nothing on that piece of paper, if you can't see that back there. He wasn't the only one. This guy didn't. This guy didn't. This guy didn't. This guy didn't. I don't know who these 5 people are, but you want me to tell you what I think about them? I think they just wanted to throw a wad of paper into the trash can. What do you think? I think that's all they want to do. But what it tells me is exactly what I thought when I came over here. Guys don't talk much. So you're going to have to figure out a way to do this differently. You say, I love having questions. So what questions do you have? And we stand here looking at each other like, yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Oh, you have that? Oh, okay. What questions do you have? You're sitting there thinking, man, if this guy just hushed, nobody asked a question, so we can go home. So I know how you think because I are one. I think just like you. Okay? So that's why I had you write down a piece of paper. This right here is the biggest group. That's all one group. And I put several answers into this group to combine them. This group is called the people who are doubting themselves. They're doubting their faith. They're doubting a belief in God. I'm going to be honest with you, I am not surprised at all that this is the biggest group, because here's what I know. I know the Bible's under attack. I know God is under attack in our world today. And so we're being told that anything we believe, if it can't be scientifically discovered, then it's not real. And we're being told that anything we believe, we need to question. We need to explore. We need to experiment. Why do you believe that? Well, because that's what my mom and dad... Well, that ain't good enough anymore. And so we got people that are struggling with faith. And we got people that are struggling with telling others about God. And we got people that are struggling with being a Christian. And we got people that are struggling with negativity. We got people that are struggling with understanding God's blessings and keeping God first. We got people that are struggling with failing. I feel like I'm failing. 1 John 5 and verse 13, John said, I write these things that you might know. So God didn't want us struggling with self-doubt or the feeling of failure all the time. I'm struggling with keeping my heart pure. I'm struggling with confessing to God what I'm... This note may be the most telling of all. I'm struggling to confess to God what I'm struggling with. You ever been at a point in your life where you just... what am I struggling with? It may be that I'm struggling with so much that I'm having trouble narrowing it down. And so what happens a lot of times is that we get overwhelmed in life and we just don't do nothing. I got this struggle, and this struggle, and this struggle, and this struggle, and this struggle. There's no way I can... I know what bad habits are. You know what bad habits are? I've had a few in my life. And you know what I convinced myself one time? I had 2 bad habits going at the same time. What were they? Well, none of your business. I've told you enough about me today. Point of the matter is I had 2 bad habits going at once. You know what I convinced myself? I convinced myself that if I could stop one bad habit, the other one was okay. Wrong answer. If I had 2 bad habits, you know how many habits I needed to stop? But I convinced myself that, see, this is how our heart works. I got 2 things that I don't need to be doing. And God will be happy if I eliminate one, and it'll be okay to continue the other one, because I can say, God, I've cut them in half. I mean, this is a 50% reduction rate. And that's big. See, we do that sometimes because we're struggling with a lot of things, and we don't know what to tackle, and we don't know how to face it, and so we just don't do nothing. I've got a couple of singles here that I'll mention. Somebody in this room, and it doesn't matter who it is, somebody in this room struggling with tobacco. Somebody in this room struggling with school. And again, I'm looking for one, and I'm convinced for these 2 people that like even for myself, I just put in one, but I could put in 2 or 3. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is this person feels like their top struggle is school, and it may be that my second or third struggle, I'm struggling with that too. because it can be a struggle, right? We don't always do like we should in school. We're not always the student that we need to be. Now, this is not about making all A's and B's. This is about doing your best. And some kids, C's are best. But don't be making C's when you could be making A's, right? If that's what you're doing, you're struggling. Absolutely. The rest of them are very similar to a lot of the things that we have talked about today. There's two here. I'm going to save those to last. This group here, there's three, same answer. Anger. Guys, it's real for us. It's real. Anger is real. And it really makes you an ugly person. And I started with that big old stack to say, look, somebody sitting beside you, let's say you're one in that first stack of doubt and disbelief and faith, and I put a lot of answers there together because I think they kind of all connect and correlate. Somebody sitting beside you, across from you, in front of you, their answer was in that big stack. You don't know who they are. They don't know who you are unless you've talked about this, but they were in there. We got three people in the room struggling with anger. I don't know who you three are, but I hope I don't say the wrong thing to all three of you at the same time. That's all I can say. Because it could really get ugly in here, right? But what I know is that if all of us are not careful, anger's a real deal. And the Bible never condemns anger. The Bible condemns being sinful in your anger. Be angry, it's okay, but don't sin. So we've got to stay in control. The eyes, the feet have got to stay in control. We get mad, we get upset, we get hurt, but we got to stay. We got to keep, if the heart is trained, then we've got to keep the path of life. We got a couple of people in here, and I don't know. I thought everybody ate pretty good back there. Maybe that's the two that ate the best, right? Got a couple of people in here struggling with eating, exercising. Not me. I eat well. You see the point? Yeah, I'm struggling. Yeah, absolutely. I need to be eating healthier. Absolutely. I need to be exercising more. Absolutely. We only got one body. Now, your body's not going to heaven. Your soul is, right? And so we don't need to put the body ahead of the soul. At the same time, we don't need to abuse the body. God only gave us one. You need to take care of it. You need to. I'm not a health nut. I'm not a fanatic. Obviously, look at me. But I do understand the fact that God only gives me one. And I've got a responsibility to take care of it. And I can't, I do need to watch, and I do need to exercise, and I do need to be at my best for God. Now, that's not my priority. My priority is my soul, because that's what's going to live forever. But don't cop out of here and just, I can just be anybody I want to be with my body because that's not permanent. That's not the case at all. This stack right here deals with the lesson right before lunch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 people. 5 people in this room. I'm taking all these home, by the way, and I'm going to count them all and do some percentages. But 5 people. 5 people out of the group that turned in answers struggling with the mouth. Answers like foul language, cussing, lying are in those 5. Struggling with the mouth, struggling with the tongue. It's a real deal for all of us, as we said before lunch. One that we've just barely mentioned, just in terms of purity. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 in this group as well. Say things like, lust. Looking at women, girls. One person in this room even went as detailed as saying, having sinful desires toward my girlfriend. Now that's a real man right there. Let me tell you. I don't know who you are. I don't care. It's not my point to find out who you are. My point is to say, listen, when you get real with yourself like that, you're a real man. I can stand up here all day and say, I like to look at women, and I'm a married man, and I know I can't be doing that, and so I realize lust is, but when you can get specific with yourself and say, it's one thing to just, well, I got trouble with my eyes. Let me tell you how I got trouble with my eyes. I look at my girlfriend the wrong way sometimes. I have some feelings and desires toward my girlfriend that I don't need to be having. Now that's a real man right there. And my prayer is for you that God will help you, because it's real. I know it's real. And I ain't making light of it in any one breath, because it's a real deal. And it's a challenge and it's a struggle with properly looking at God's beauty in girls and ladies, and properly maintaining the right relationship. And maybe when you heard purity this morning, that's all you heard, because, as I mentioned very commonly, that's what we think about it. The last group is kind of a unique group to me. It's two answers. And this one says, listening to my parents. And then scribbled out. I really like that. Because you know what this person did? They wadded it up and threw it in the trash can anyway. I don't know who they're scribbling out. I think they're scribbling out themselves. Because I think they're recognizing the struggle that they're having. Just in writing it down. I'm struggling with listening to my parents, and I just don't even want to see it. Just scratch it out. But I wadded it up and I threw it in the trash can anyway. The other one says, being a good son without my dad. In other words, I'm trying to be who I'm supposed to be all the time. And when my dad's around, I behave myself very well. And I'm going to tell you, when you get, and I hope you get to be 32 years of age, and I hope your dad's still alive, and when he's around, guess what you do? You behave yourself very well. I still do it to this day. See, that doesn't change with age. Honoring father and mother doesn't go away once you become an adult yourself. I'm still to be honoring of my father and mother, my father specifically here. I'm still to listen and obey my parents and the Lord, for this is right, even at my age. And same for you. But what I realize is that when nobody's watching, when Dad's not with me, and I've sung the song many a times, there's an all-seeing eye watching you, and I've been scared half to death, that God's some scary creature that lives in my closets and under my floors, and I don't see God like that anymore. But the point's still the point, is that God is watching. And so I need to be careful with my eyes and my feet. I appreciate all your answers very much. Thank you for participating in this. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for listening to me. I appreciate the opportunity. Here's the question I want to leave you with. I want you to think all the way home, tomorrow, the next day, where will I be spiritually 10 years from now? People that are 60, 70, 80, you know what they're thinking about? They're thinking about dying. That's what they're thinking about. They know it's not going to be long. They don't know how long it's, but they know it's drawing to a close. You guys, y'all got 60, 70, 80 years to live. Death is the furthest thing from your mind. So I can stand up here and say, well, now, where are you going to go when you die? That's not a fair question. You don't even think about death. Could you die? Absolutely. So could I. Just because you're 60, 70, 80 don't mean you can't die. But my point is, my question is not where are you going to go when you die. My question is, where are you going to be spiritually 10 years from now? Because according to statistics, 3 out of 4 of you that are under the age of 18 will not be at a day like this 10 years from now. Can we change that? It's got to start by you right here with your heart. You've got to decide, I'm going to change it. I hope you will. Where will you be spiritually 10 years from now? Rise up.